listening to In Plain Sight with Kevin Hennessy.
Hello. Greetings from the warm and humid tropical Florida Keys. This is yours truly, Kevin Hennessy, bringing you another episode and another show of In Plain Sight. Sitting out here in my back deck here in Key Largo, hoping that we ward off the rain showers, because I'm sitting out here with a laptop on my deck and wasn't prepared for rain showers, but it definitely is starting to sprinkle, so hopefully we won't be interrupted. It's good to be doing a show. It's good to be on a Friday night. The week has gone fast, and I am so glad it's Friday. I'll tell you what, it has just been one of those weeks that has just been so filled with chaos and drama that I am glad it's Friday and glad it's the weekend. Tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about preppers. So it's going to be a jam-packed show, so you want to get ready for that, because I got a lot of info. I'm going to really try to jam-pack here in this little tiny space of an hour. So get ready for hearing some stuff about preppers and some of the things that we could be facing and why you need to prepare. Let's go ahead and get a few of the little things out of the way first here. As far as the radio show, last week's show was a no-go. I sat out here with creating episode 3, which I'm going to go ahead and just rename this show episode 3, because I was ill-prepared last week. I had a very long day, and I just didn't have enough time to prepare my show both mentally and on paper, note-wise, and I got into my show, and on top of, being tired after a very long day and week, I wound up just rambling, and I just really didn't feel like I made sense, and I was going to go ahead and redo it, over the weekend, but when you're in the middle of home construction and home renovation and they decide they're going to work on a weekend, they're constantly knocking on your door every 10-15 minutes. I could see that a redo was going to be a no-go last weekend, and then, of course, Monday came around, and I just didn't have any time at all to go ahead and do a redo. So here we are. It's my Friday, March 2nd, 2012, and this is going to be episode 3. So my apologies to all those last week that were waiting for the show and had nothing to listen to. I just didn't like how it turned out. There was a lot of dead space and a lot of rambling, and I was going off in tangents, and I didn't have time to redo it. So anyway, that's that. So I'm looking forward to continue on doing this weekly, and as soon as the chaos is done in my home with this renovation and construction, I'm going to go ahead and continually update and improve this format of this radio show. So you got that to look forward to. As far as the house construction, but I first started doing this show here several weeks ago, maybe a month ago. I was in the gutted out living room of my home. It was just 2x4 studs. That's all it was. And now we have progressed to the point we have drywall. Walls are painted. The window trims up. The baseboard's down. The porcelain slate tile is down. I mean, it's looking like a home again. Kitchen cabinets are all up. So we're really progressing with the construction. Still awaiting the granite countertops and some plumbing and some final electrical work has to be done. Light fixtures have to go in, and I'm probably going to do some of that myself and just turn around and submit the bill to the contractor, because I can do that, because I myself am a, we'll just say I can do that. So, anyway, I don't know if any of y'all have gone through the drama and the chaos of a home renovation or construction, but let me tell you, if you can avoid it, by all means do. And it is just probably one of the most stressful things I think I've ever gone through in my entire life. Granted, we're living in a little tiny efficiency apartment while the house is being done, but somebody has to be at the house 24, during the day when the workers are here, and like to be here as late as I can at night. And I tell you what, it's like a big babysitting service when all these workers are here. We got a foreman that shouldn't be a foreman. He's just not qualified to be a foreman, and you try to be here during the day just to have a physical presence in the house, and they're constantly bugging you, knocking on the door. Knocking on, like the contractors are knocking, the workers are knocking. I tell you what, I was on my own here last Saturday while my partner Randy went up to the mainland to get some building materials, some fixtures, and do some grocery shopping. And boy, I was at my wit's end. I tell you what, at the end of the day, it was I was really ready to go crazy, because I was constantly being interrupted every 10-15 minutes, someone knocking on the door. And I'll tell you what, it's just if you can really avoid the chaos and drama, by all means do, and by all means research your contractor, which we did. We did research our contractor, and he came with high recommendations, but after this project we will not be recommending him, because the shenanigans, the lying, the deceitfulness that is going on, that we're catching, is just unbelievable. It happens on all levels, people, so, you got to stay on top of things every single minute, because they will cheat you. They will lie to your face, and they will tell you one thing and promise you the world, and they don't do squat. So this weekend I'm taking matters into my own hands, and I will have a washer and dryer hooked up, and I will have some sort of progress if I got to do it myself, and I will charge for my labor. I'd like to see the look on their faces when they get the bill, because I charge $45 an hour. That's what I'm going to charge. That's the going rate, and that's the bill I'm going to turn back to them. So we'll see how that goes. Anyways, let's go on. Let's move on from that. Just so if you do ever get contractors for whatever, be sure to research. Be sure to ask around. Ask for referrals, because I'm going to be one referral they're going to wish they didn't have, both my partner and I. And we do believe a lot of the goings-on, the funny business, happens to be because of our lifestyle. I will say that. I'm not ashamed to admit it, but we do believe that is a major cause right there. So make sure you do your research, and keep an eye every single minute. Okay, onwards, because I have a jam-packed show. I really want to get into the meat of it all tonight, because it's really important. As far as some little news tidbits going on here, boy, I tell you what, my forecast for the weather was sure right on target as far as what I was foreseeing as we went into the spring months, and that is definitely turning into a very stormy pattern, and looking as the pattern is starting to kind of cool off a little bit. Winter storms now have really been hammering the Midwest with tornado outbreaks and severe weather. So, March is just coming in like a lion. The Northeast, upstate New York, got pounded with a snowstorm on Thursday, up to over a foot to 15 inches in upstate New York. Real heavy, wet snow there. And now another major late winter storm is going through the Great Lakes, bringing high winds to the lower Great Lakes to Michigan, where they're expecting winds over 50 miles per hour tonight, and severe weather into the deep south. And that's probably why it is spitting rain on me as I do this podcast, is that the moisture from that storm system, the front moving in. But yeah, it looks like this is going to be a stormy spring for many of you. up there, as we've had a record warm winter for many, and I hear rain in the distance, and I think I need to put the umbrella up. Okay, we got our umbrella up, at least to cover the computer anyway, in case it does rain. So anyway, yeah, there's looking at the spring forecast, especially east of the Rocky Mountains. It's going to be a very stormy spring. I'm looking for a volatile spring. I'm looking for a spring with a lot of tornadoes, a lot of severe thunderstorms. We've had a record warm winter, so there's a lot of heat energy built up in the Gulf of Mexico that really has never dissipated too much over the winter due to the lack of the cold air masses. Never really made it into the Gulf and into South Florida, so the heat energy is still pretty high, and the water temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico are running about 70 degrees. So for the first part of March, that's quite warm. And down here in the Keys, our water temperatures are already approaching 80. And it's a lot of heat energy in the tropics, and a lot of heat energy moisture that goes north, and of course the Arctic up there, Canada, the Arctic, Siberia is still very, very cold, and that air still comes down into the U.S., and when those two air masses clash, that's when we have problems. We have our that's why springtime is so volatile, because you have clashing air masses with the change of seasons, and we are now embarking upon a season change. So with the current La Nina that is still persistent and quite strong, I'm looking for a very volatile and very stormy spring. Look for a roller coaster as far as spring goes. You may have a few warm days that's unusually warm, followed by some severe weather, followed by some cold weather. And you may even see a return to winter weather well into April, and followed by a couple days later back to springtime temperatures. So it's going to be a roller coaster, topsy-turvy spring, and I'm looking for very volatile weather. Okay, let's get on to a few little news tidbits here. Boy, I just happened to come across these, so I just thought I'd share with you all out there. This was interesting. I found that it says this particular article was "Scientists Shocked to Find Antibiotics Alleviate the Symptoms of Schizophrenia." I thought, okay, this is worth reading and sharing. It says a cheap antibiotic normally prescribed to teenagers for acne is to be tested as a treatment to alleviate the symptoms of psychosis in patients with schizophrenia, in a trial that could advance scientific understanding of the causes of mental illness. The National Institute for Health Research is funding £1.9 million, this is English pounds, trial of minocycline, which will begin recruiting patients in the UK next month. The research follows case reports from Japan in which the drug was prescribed to patients with schizophrenia who had infections and led to dramatic improvements in their psychotic symptoms. The chance observation caused researchers to test the drug in patients with schizophrenia around the world. Trials in Israel, Pakistan, and Brazil have shown significant improvement in patients treated with the drug. Scientists believe that schizophrenia and other mental illnesses, including depression and Alzheimer's disease, may be the result from inflammatory processes in the brain. Minocycline has anti-inflammatory and neuroprotective effects, which they believe could account for the positive findings. And this comes from Infowars.com. That was one of the articles I pulled off of there by Jeremy Lawrence of The Independent, dated March 2, 2012. Okay, boy, I'll tell you what, if you think the price of gas is high now, wait till you see what's coming. It's got a little article here. This is this is from Infowars.com from Alexander Higgins. Explosions destroy Saudi oil pipelines, send oil prices soaring. Go figure. A massive explosion has destroyed Saudi oil pipelines, sending an uncontrolled source of fuel on fire and crude oil prices soaring. Among many factors responsible for the jump on the WTI, just just shy of $109 over the past hour. And Brent, let's see, and it says the Brent North crude to new records in various currencies. Is the following news reported so far by the Iranian press TV? Iran, that's popping up again, okay. An explosion has hit oil pipelines in the flashpoint Saudi Arabian city of Awamiya in Kingdom's oil-rich eastern province. So, it says, for the first time in decades, the eastern Saudi Arabian volatile situation has reached the vital oil sector. A pipeline between Awamiya and Safwa has been reportedly targeted. It is under fire. Saudi Arabia's Shiite minority, mostly residing in the oil-rich east, has been protesting for years against state-sponsored discrimination. They are treated as second-class citizens, denied public sector jobs, and vital development for their oil-rich areas. Saudi Arabia's powerful Wahhabi religious establishment considers Shiite heretics and constantly incites against them. Okay, security forces have killed 2 protesters in Awamiya, eastern Saudi Arabia. They are launching a series of arrests on raids on houses, on schools, and mosques. This is Awamiya. This evening, protesters have blocked police road after arrests in town. Okay, so finally it says the eastern region is where the most oil fields are based. The events, if they continue, might force Saudi Arabia to lower its production expectations this year, thus affecting world supplies and possible world economy. Well, folks, this is going to be part of our show tonight of I'm prepping. That does happen to be one of the topics for tonight, and to me, it's like any excuse that they can find to raise the price, they're going to do so. And I've seen our prices here go up 20 cents just about overnight last week. They've gone up a few cents this week. I've heard so many reasons as to why the price of gas has gone so high, but there's a very volatile situation that's going on right now over in the Middle East, over in Iran, between Iran and Israel, and any moment, any day, Israel could launch a rocket or a missile on Iran, and then things go down the toilet really quick from there. It doesn't look good as far as that is, because if it does escalate to where they start launching rockets on one another, then we're going to start having a war. Israel, we're allies to Israel, so we will side with them, and if things do escalate out of control, which most experts are saying it's going to, we're going to be looking at a world war, because Russia and China no doubt will side with Iran, and right in between there you have the Straits of Hormuz, and that's where about 20-30% of the world's oil supplies on the oil, barges pass through. And war breaks out over there, folks. We're going to be looking at $10, $15 a gallon gasoline. Yeah, very possible. And that's, I've been reading this on many, many, many websites. We're looking at oil prices $200, $300, $400 a barrel if war breaks out between Iran and Israel and it escalates into a world war. You don't know what that, $200, $300, $400 a barrel oil is going to do to us, do to our economy. And this is what has inspired me to do the show tonight. I'm prepping. So let's get through these other 2 articles so we can get into our show, because I have a lot to cover. Here's something that's just really disturbing, and it's just the TSA is coming to a highway near you. One of the great honors of my service to Tennessee is having opportunity to represent Fort Campbell, which is home to the storied 101st Airborne, the 5th Special Forces Group and the Army's 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, which piloted Navy SEAL Team 6 during raid on Osama bin Laden. Okay. Each soldier who calls Fort Campbell home has gone through some sort of most intensive training on the planet, which pushed their minds and bodies to their physical limits. In the end, those who make the cut have earned the right to be part of the United States military, are honored to wear the uniform and serving on the front lines in the fight against global terrorism. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for our nation's transportation security officers, TSOs, who Department of Homeland Security Janet Napolitano contends is one of our nation's last line of defense in fighting domestic terrorism. Unlike Hell Week, which faces potential Navy SEALs, becoming a TSO requires a basic level of classroom and on-the-job training. In many cases, this rigorous training is less severe than the requirements of becoming a security guard in most states. Okay, I cut the article off there because it went on for pages. But I did read the article. It really didn't cover what I had hoped it would. The printed version, when you hit print on the computer, was different than what I had read. But basically, if you think it's bad having the TSA in airports when you want to go on a flight and have to go through TSA and have to get groped and have your genitals groped and go through invasive body scanners and they may have old ladies, old people, they make them remove their colostomy bags, and women, they make them remove their breast implants who are recovering from cancer. Yeah, this happens at airports all the time. Now it's going to be happening in our towns because they already are starting to set up TSA checkpoints in cities. So you will be, it's ridiculous. You're going to be going to a TSA checkpoint. I think sobriety checkpoints are bad enough. My thing is, if you're drinking, you should be responsible and not even get behind the car. But personally, I think sobriety checkpoints are kind of entrapment, but they serve a purpose. So now we're going to have TSA checkpoints, and that's definitely entrapment. So in order to get into the next town, you're going to have to go through TSA, and they're probably going to frisk you and check your car and check everything in there and check, invasive, Big Brother, all that crap. I'm going to go ahead and pull this article up more, and I'm going to research on it, and I'm going to cover this in a future show, maybe next week or so. And now this one was interesting. This is U.S. Homeland Security monitored Occupied Wall Street documents show. Now, folks, I read this one. I did read this little blurb ahead of time. This doesn't just apply to the Occupy Wall Street. It applies to everybody. Let me go ahead and read it for you. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security has compiled a secret dossier on the Occupy Wall Street movement, leaked emails reveal. The 5-page document posts on Rolling Stone's magazine website cites the need to monitor Occupy as a potential security risk. Potential security risk. There it is, folks. There it is. Potential security risk. Remember that. It emerged days after the whistleblower site WikiLeaks, with which Rolling Stone has a partnership, released 5 million emails from the servers of the U.S.-based private security firm Stratfor. On Tuesday, 10 protesters were arrested in New York in a bid to revive the movement across the United States. According to Rolling Stone, which first reported the DHS dossier's existence, Homeland Security kept tabs to Occupy through major media outlets and also combed Occupy-related Twitter feeds for information. The dossier titled, quote, Special Coverage, Occupy Wall Street, contains a section on the movement's use of social media, including an interactive map of protest sites throughout the country. Folks, If you don't believe me that Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, and all those other social networking sites are being monitored, if you don't believe me, then don't believe me. But they are being watched. Big time. And they're being watched for buzzwords. There's all kinds of buzzwords, and once you ping the algorithm for one of the buzzwords, it's gonna, they're gonna be watching you. Personally, I think Facebook, Google Plus, Twitter, these social networks is just Big Brother, and that was some of the stuff I tried covering last week in the show. I messed up, but here we go on all these social networks, and we volunteer our information. We discuss ourselves. We discuss our lives. We share our pictures. We talk about our jobs, our families, our hobbies, and don't you think that there's the same dossiers are built on every one of us? If you go on Google, anybody goes on and does a Google search, guess what? That same dossier is being built on you, keeping track of everything you search on Google. And here's Facebook. I'm just using Facebook. These Twitter, these social networks, they're watching you. Especially if you hit these little pages you join the Occupy movement, you hit like, or you join the movement. People, how do you know that some of these sites are not set up by the globalists, the powers that be? How do you know that some of these sites are not set up by Homeland Security? We don't. They can get on there and make a Facebook page just like anyone else of us. And then you go hitting that like button. Oh, I want to join the page because I want to join the cause. And guess what? They got your name right there. Right there, they got your name. And once they get your name, a little know-how on Google. I don't care how private you think you may be on the internet. Just a little tinkering around on Google and with some programs can pull all the information on anybody. Anybody can do that. It's not good. So this is just another way of Big Brother is just watching you. So be careful, folks. I enjoy Facebook. I enjoy Twitter. I enjoy Google Plus. I enjoy the social networks. Be careful out there. Careful what you talk about. Because we're being watched, every one of us, and just even talking about it, just saying, maybe even reposting a link that someone else posts, they're gonna watch you. So, I say let them watch, okay? I got nothing to hide. They want to read all my Facebook feed about my posts about recipes or about my day or about my whatever's going on. Let them read. I'll leave someone else alone, right? But yeah, that's one of the things I covered last week, and I'm going to probably try to redo that show because that's a big topic there. I was trying to talk about internet privacy and how I call it the circle, how we're being watched. Okay, about 28 minutes into the show, so I want to get into tonight's topic here on preppers. Okay, prepping. Prepper, stockpiling, stocking up, preparing, whatever you want to call it. First of all, folks, why prep? You know what a prepper is. A prepper is one that is preparing, basically, if you want to listen to some of the TV documentaries, Propaganda Machine BS, they got a show out called Preppers, which makes a lot of legitimate folks out there look like a bunch of lunatics. I've watched Preppers, and they got some doozies on there, and I can see what the globalists are driving at. So let's leave it at that, and let's get into this show here, because why prep? Well, folks, most of us here in the country, we live in a zone where some sort of natural disaster is going to hit us at one time or another. It may be in our lifetime, it may not be, but at one point there's going to be a natural disaster that's going to occur in your area. I live in the Florida Keys. It's a chain of islands. We stick out into the Atlantic Ocean. We get a lot of hurricanes down here. We get affected by a lot of hurricanes. I've been through one direct hit from a major hurricane, Hurricane Wilma 2005. I've seen the chaos that causes. Been through a lot of brushes with ones that have gone, past through the straits, but no matter where you live, you might live in California and you got to worry about earthquakes, wildfires. You may live in an area that's has blizzards. Okay, if a disaster or something of this magnitude happens in the area, let's say a hurricane, an earthquake, or a blizzard, folks, you should be prepared no matter what is happening, no matter what could happen, because if say a blizzard hits, we're getting in the middle of March. Some of the worst blizzards that have gripped the central U.S. and the northern U.S. have occurred in March. Superstorm of 1993, a lot of you will remember, gripped the entire eastern U.S. from Florida to Maine, buried many places in deep south in record snowfall, and people were up to a week without any kind of electricity or transportation, anything. This is what you got to prepare for, folks. I'm not talking about the doomsday stuff, which we're going to get into here shortly. I'm talking about just a basic natural weather event. Something like this happens, a hurricane, an earthquake. You can count. The FEMA says to count on at least 72 hours on your own. That means there's going to be no emergency services. The grocery stores are going to be closed. If the power goes out, everything's going to be closed. You're going to have to get by 3 days on your own without no outside assistance from authorities, from fire, police, EMT. You're on your own. Grocery stores, folk, they only keep a 2 to 3 day supply of food on hand. I've seen what happens down here when we get a hurricane. The grocery store gets wiped out. People go into panic buying. It's adrenaline, it's impulse, and the shelves get cleaned out, especially if canned goods, bread, water, anything that's non-perishable, it just gets cleaned out. And that's before the storm hits, and it gets to be chaos. 1992 is a Category 5 hurricane hit South Florida, just about 30 miles north of me. Totally wiped Homestead and Florida City right off the map. 20 plus years later, the scars are still there, folks. I still to this day hear the horror stories down here, even though we didn't take the brunt of that hurricane. We got high winds, but 2 weeks without electricity. 2 weeks with no grocery stores, no electricity. People were on their own. And we're going to talk about prepping for events like this, because you could be facing a blizzard. Somebody could be facing a blizzard next week. Your town could be hit by a tornado, an F5 tornado. Look at Joplin, Missouri. Some of those, people didn't know what hit them, and it's days before help can get through. Streets are clogged with debris. If it's snow, it could be snow drifts. If it's an earthquake, it's debris. So what happens when the bottom falls out? Let's take a look at why, if you should be prepping for maybe the short term for a natural disaster, but let's take a look at what could be happening and what is theorized. One is our infrastructure totally collapsing, and that could either be an economic collapse, an economic disaster that would create hyperinflation, which, if we get this price of, the price of oil keeps going up the way it is, that has a direct impact on food. The trucks, it costs money to have the trucks transport that food to you. It costs money to have it shipped. It costs money to electricity, which is most places is oil, to process. Everything is related to oil. And our food will go up proportionally to the price of oil. So you think it's bad now, and boy, I'll tell you what, the prices are horrendous going into the stores. You think it's bad now, $3.39 for a loaf of whole wheat bread? Wait till it's $10 for a loaf of bread. It's going to be luxury just to eat. And with this Mideast situation going on, the price of gas, and it's $10 a gallon gas possible. Those kind of prices is going to crash our economy. And I'll tell you what, folks, it's just inevitable with everything that's going on with our economy right now, the spending that our government is doing, the trillions and trillions of dollars we're in debt. It's just a matter of time before the whole thing just crashes. The whole economic system crashes. We have an economic disaster. What are you going to do, folks, when we have hyperinflation and it's going to be $10 for a loaf of bread, and you're not even going to be able to afford to feed your family? It's not going. You're going to have to make a decision whether to keep warm or feed your family, and it's going to get too expensive to even drive your vehicle to work. How are you going to get to work to make money? You know what I'm saying? This is one reason. This is the most likely reason I personally, and the most would be preparing long term. When I say prepping long term, I'm saying like being on your own for 6 months to 1 year. Because when this economy collapses, we go into a depression, which looks like is inevitable, and the disaster this would cause would make 2008, the economic crash of 2008, seem like a walk in the park, folks. I'm serious. This is something you really want to bear in mind, and something that you might want to start preparing for, because we have an economic collapse. And even if the price of oil goes through the roof, which they're saying $10 a gallon gas, $5 a gallon gas is what their experts are now saying in mainstream media news for this summer, $5 a gallon gas. We get war breaking out here in the Middle East, and you can look at $10, $15, $20 a gallon gas. And the chain reaction effect on the economy will be absolutely, incredibly devastating. And something you want to just bear in mind. The next, I don't like to say doomsday, because I really don't believe in this doomsday scenario. I don't like that term. It just makes it sound like the end of the world. But the next scenario that to me seems very probable is what they call an EMP burst, whether it's from man or from the sun. So, okay, folks, so you ask, what is EMP? EMP is what they call an electromagnetic pulse. A nuclear bomb, when it explodes, creates an electromagnetic pulse. What can happen is that one of these countries that are have nuclear capability, can launch a nuclear missile and detonate it, say 50 miles to 100 miles above, up in the upper atmosphere, right over the center of the U.S. Of course, we won't feel the effects of the blast. What we will feel effects are the electromagnetic pulse. And what will that do? The electromagnetic pulse will fry the power grid, folks. It will fry everything that is computerized, from your car to your laptop to your iPad to your iPhone, your telephone, everything. All our mainframe computers. We will go back 150 years in time. Because what will happen is a burst like that, there's so much EMP that, the power grid, all the wires in the power grid will act like a magnifying antenna. They will take that EMP because these wires stretch for so long, and this EMP will become so intense that the wires will literally catch fire. And this will blow up power plants. It will blow up substations. It will blow up electrical transformers right on your power pole. It will blow up your home wiring, your circuit box. Folks, y'all know what it's like to be without electricity for a few hours? Maybe a thunderstorm goes through and you don't have power for, a couple hours, maybe a day. It's sometimes kind of fun, but it gets inconvenient real fast. Imagine a year without electricity. Imagine 1 year, 2 years without electricity. This is what EMP will do. Now, the sun can also create an electromagnetic pulse. It has done on several occasions. 2 occasions in 1859 and 1921, solar flares from coronal mass ejections were so intense that they set telegraph wires and telegraph stations on fire. This EMP went through the power lines, the telegraph lines. There was no electronic circuitry then, folks. It was very rudimentary telecommunications. They still got set on fire. Can you imagine with our sensitive electronics that we have in 2012 what will happen? Wow. The sun can do this. The sun can fry the power grid, and we are now going into a peak solar cycle of 2012 and 2013, and the Earth has been bombarded by coronal mass ejections. Fortunately, they have not been. Most of them are kind of shooting off at an angle away from Earth. A few have hit the Earth directly, but they have been weak. Have been like of a lesser extent. But a major X-class flare hitting the Earth, it can knock our grid off. It has done as far as I believe it was back in 1998. They had one that hit up in Quebec and knocked them out for a little while. They were able to recover it. Recover took several days. But I'm saying a massive EMP from folk can knock you. We're talking months to years with no electricity. How are you going to get by? How are you going to feed your kids? How are you going to feed yourself? How are you going to keep warm? How are you going to take a bath? This is stuff you need to think about. I put that one as probable. The next one they call pandemic. Germs released by man, purpose pandemic, or one's not. I really don't worry about this one. It's not like something I'm going to go run out and start stockpiling food because I'm worried about the next pandemic outbreak. I feel that if you're already prepared for the worst, if you feel inclined to prepare, then something like this magnitude, you will be prepared to get by. You just know you may have to take a few additional precautions, but guaranteed, that would be a relocation. That would be a time for the relocation camps. Any of these natural big-time disasters is off to the relocation camp or FEMA camp. Super volcano. I don't know if you have heard about that, but some people are prepping for the super volcano Yellowstone out there in Wyoming. It could massive volcano can blow up, blot out the sun, send us into like basically like a nuclear winter. It would just blot out the sun. We would go into this. It would actually be massively devastating if this thing happened. It would wipe out a large part of the population. There'd be no crops be able to grow, and that's just something I'm not really worried about. It does happen on average. I think it's every 600,000 years. So the chances that it could happen, but it's not something that I would really get all bent out of shape, laying in bed at night worrying about. It will definitely give you a lot of warning before that goes off. Pole shift, that's another thing a lot of people are prepping for. Pole shift is already happening, but when it does happen, there's going to be a lot of earthquakes, mega tsunamis. There will be many signs when this really does get going. So if you're prepped for other things, then I really personally don't see any problems of why you won't be able to survive a pole shift, providing that you're well enough inland and a high elevation. Me, I'm at sea level, so mega tsunami comes, I'm gone. So you can see I don't worry about it. Okay. The other thing that was tossed around here was this Planet X Nibiru. I was following that since about 2003, 2004. I watched everything there was about it, and they said by 2010 we'd be seeing the effects of it, and we'd be seeing it in the sky by early 2012, and I don't see anything yet. So I'm really don't really have anything into that as far as Planet X. If somebody can show me some credible information about that, I'd appreciate it. So, we do know that things can happen on short-term and long-term. I only covered a few things here. I only went over some basics. I'm going to do the same with prepping so I can kind of get it all into the show here. Am I being an alarmist? No, I'm being a realist. I've done the research. Am I being a fearmonger? No, I'm just giving you the facts. If you want to be scared, that's your choice. Me, I don't live in fear. I just live in the now. And I'm doing what I have to do because I live in hurricane country, folks, and I have to go in each season. I have to be prepared for a hurricane. I have to be prepared to be at least 2 weeks, up to 2 weeks on my own, with no emergency services, with no electricity. So I go prepared every year. I'm prepped every year. Year round, basically, I'm prepped because I have had to use my hurricane supplies on a few occasions, especially with Hurricane Wilma in 2005. So, yeah, it does pay off. So, let's talk about how to prep. Okay, if we're looking at a long-term scenario, an economic collapse, that's going to probably be the most probable. If some economic collapse, hyperinflation, I would say that's probably going to be the number one biggie. EMP, that's been touted for a couple of decades now. Yeah, it could happen, but I would be more inclined to really be concerned about the economy crashing, the price of oil, the infrastructure going through. That's my biggie right there. So let's say, okay, now how do you prep? How do you prep long term for you and your family to get by a couple weeks, 6 months, a year maybe? Folks, we're so dependent upon the system. That's what the New World Order wants. The globalists want us to be dependent upon the system. I just mentioned earlier, grocery stores only have a 2 to 3 day supply of food on hand. So if all goes to hell in a handbasket, don't count on your local grocery store there, your super center, to come to your beck and call, because if we have economic collapse, power grid failure, guaranteed that those stores are going to be looted. There's not going to be the big trucks that are going to come and restock them and refill them. They will be empty. So you're going to be on your own. And we're going to take a look at a few things you can do to get through. And I'm just going to go through some real basics. You can do a lot of research. There's a lot of information out there on the web. YouTube is full of it. And full of a lot of credible information if you really want to get into this prepping thing. Many of us are feeling very led that something is very, very wrong, that something is going to happen. Most people are feeling this. And what you want to do is plan on 1 gallon of water per person a day. That's drinking water. Not to mention that you want to have some sort of backup water, some sort of water, whether it's potable or non-potable, for flushing your commode. That's going to be, sanitation's going to be a big issue there. So you're going to want to make sure you have something to flush your toilet, some kind of water. I saw a website for bathtub reservoirs. They're these plastic bladders. They fit into your bathtub. You fill them up with in your bathtub. It's safe. The water is inside a heavy-duty plastic membrane, so it's not coming in contact with an unsanitary tub, where you take a bath and wash your dirty body. Well, this is a nice, clean way of storing and keeping your water drinkable. Bathtub reservoirs, I saw them about $30 online. Just go ahead and go to Google or Amazon, whatever, and type in bathtub reservoirs. They hold 65 gallons of water, about $30. I got 2 of them on the way. Well, because of for hurricanes down here, and I'm looking at the most number one is I'm concerned about economic collapse, and you can even use plastic trash cans, garbage cans. Go buy some of those garbage cans. Get yourself some of those contractor trash bags. Those garbage cans will hold about 30 gallons of water each. The reason I say contractor trash bags is because the plastic containers themselves do have chemicals in them. They have residues in them. So line them with a trash can liner. That water, though, you're going to, put the lid on it, but you're going to want to use that water, at least try to keep that, use that water up, or keep some kind of way to purify it on hand, maybe a little bit of bleach, some hydrogen peroxide. The next thing, a lot of people get so concerned about stockpiling and stashing food, they forget the essentials like toilet paper, soap, first aid supplies, bleach or hydrogen peroxide for sanitation, depending on, I personally like both. I like hydrogen peroxide to sanitize around the house. But I'm going to tell you a little secret, folks. Dawn dish soap. Dawn dish soap you can safely use in the shower to wash your body, to wash your hair. That same Dawn dish soap you can use to wash your clothes. That same Dawn dish soap you can use to wash your dishes. It keeps forever. So, we're talking survival, emergency thing, when it comes down to, if you don't have bar soap or whatever, Dawn dish soap will work. Foods. How do you keep long-term storage of foods? Beans, rice, and pastas. Those will store a long time. You want to make sure they're in airtight containers. Okay. Beans, rice, and pastas. That's what our forefathers, our ancestors survived on this. This is why we're here today. Is from beans, rice, and pastas. And there was times in our history where people didn't eat meat, or didn't have access to meat, or meat was a luxury. So beans, rice, and pastas, folk, are very easy to prepare. You can prepare them like many, many different ways. And I'm going to talk very briefly. They're very easy to prepare. Pasta, you can, what I call no-boil pasta. You can just bring a pot of water to a boil, dump in your pasta, put on wait for the second boil, put your lid on, turn off the heat, push it aside. Time it 20 minutes. Your pasta will be done perfectly al dente. So you're not using a lot of energy to boil the crap out of pasta till it's done, because pasta will cook. The starch in pasta and rice breaks down at 180 degrees. So when you turn your water off from a full boil, that water will stay above 180 degrees for well over 20 minutes, 32 ounces or greater at a room temperature. Beans, very easy to cook. Soak them the night before, dump the water the next day, add your seasonings, whatever your favorite spices, and beans you can simmer on a very low fire for about an hour. All of it, very high in protein, carbohydrates, and that's what you're going to need to survive on and get by. Who says survival has to be eating rations? Start looking up how to make. There's ways you can make breads and biscuits, sourdough, cornbread. Very easy over open campfire. Very easy. It's very easy to do. Especially if you have a solar oven. Canned goods. Canned goods are good to store. If you're going to looking at long-term storage, be sure to rotate them every couple of years. Whether it's home canning or if you're buying stuff from the grocery store, be sure to rotate your stock. You don't want to wait 5-10 years from now and something, the crap hits the fan and you're going to dig into your food there and it's gone bad or tastes funny. That's not the time you want to discover that. So be sure to rotate your canned stuff, your canned goods. Now there's a lot of websites out there. eFoods Direct really has some great meals. My friend in Colorado, she just got a 6-month responder store. She just got it, and she had sampled a few of the meals. She tells me they're excellent, so I'm going to be doing the same because I like the storage capability of them. It's a full meal. It comes in its own storage container. Shelf life of 25 years. Yeah, I can hang with that because if I have to, I can put that as part of my bug out kit. If I gotta get out of the keys because of Category 5 hurricane is coming at us, I can just throw my container of e-foods or my MREs, and I know I have a complete meal right there, and I can put my bug out bag. We can take our animals, and we can be gone. And this is how you should be prepared. Folks, don't forget basics. You're not going to have refrigeration if we lose the power grid. We're not going to have refrigeration if you can't afford to pay your electric bill because the price of oil is is $200, $300, $400 a barrel, and you're going to have to make a decision whether to eat or keep your lights on. So you want to keep basics in that don't require refrigeration and that can store for a very long time. Things like honey, molasses, they don't go bad. They got the sugar. They be used in a lot of dishes. Their nutritional value is very high. Salt, pepper, sugar, and flour. Sugar and flour can be stored if you use an airtight container. Survive it. Getting through an event can be bearable. We're not talking where you're just eating like Campbell's beans out of the can every day. It can be to the point where if you prepare ahead of time, practice now while you have the chance, so when the time comes, if and when it does come, and I say when, I'm not saying if, I'm just saying it's a matter of when, you're gonna know how to get by. You're gonna know how to cook for yourself. You're gonna know how to feed your kids, and that's important. Solar ovens. My friend in Colorado, she's ordered 2 solar ovens, and I am waiting. She's very excited about it. I'm waiting to hear her results because I will soon be ordering a solar oven. If anything, to be a little bit more green as far as cooking and living in such a hot climate here. Anything that I can do without having to heat the kitchen up to make the air conditioner work more, I'm all for it. But solar ovens, boy, I've been watching some of the videos that my friend has sent me on YouTube, and I've got to say I'm really impressed. And the food is endless what you can make in there. That's why I was saying you can make breads, sourdough bread, you can make biscuits, you just about cook anything in there, providing that you live in a sunny climate. If you do not live in a sunny climate, or you're in an area that's predominantly overcast, such as like the Great Lakes, the Northeast, or even the Pacific Northwest, if you want to look at survival, you want to long-term maybe invest in some camping equipment. It can be real easily found. Cooking over an open fire, it's like camping. It's not too hard. I've done it. So looking into some camping gear. Maybe just some like a grill to go over an open fire. Coffee pot, maybe a pan, a couple things to cook with. The urban areas, folks, is going to be the most difficult on the long-term survival. Personally, I don't want to be the one that's going to be having to go stand in line for 8 hours of fighting mobs, of people who are hungry, people who are stressed out to the max. There's fighting, waiting for FEMA to give me my daily ration of food. That's if not they don't come and just haul us off and say, hey, we have a relocation center. You're safe there. No, I'm not going to the relocation FEMA camp. I'm not going to wait 8 hours in line for my food, my daily jug of water, and then if I'm lucky, I might get a bag of ice. No, I've seen it, folks, with my own eyes, what people go through in hurricanes down here. I've seen it. It's no picnic. I was prepared. I had my hurricane supplies. We were fortunate. We're on the same grid as the fire station, so our electricity came back on fairly quickly. There were some parts up in the mainland after Wilma that didn't see electricity for 6 weeks until Christmas time. But solar ovens, portable wood cook stoves. They got little cook stoves. They look like little tabletop grills. They're like the little wood stoves. You burn wood in them. You cook your food on them, boil water, stuff you can prepare, your e-foods on there, or your pastas or your beans or something you can cook on. But your urban areas is going to be the most difficult to get by in because your means of having an open fire or gathering wood or it's going to take a little more strategic planning, but it can be done. You're going to want to think of a means of protection because there's going to be a lot of hungry, roving people out there, and if they know that you're stashing, guess what? They're going to be coming around. If you live out or if they see a smoke from a campfire like in your yard, you can be trusted to have a visitor. And unfortunately, even if you don't believe in guns, that might be your only means of protecting your family. And when it comes down to protecting your kids, if they're going to eat, or you're going to let some stranger come, onto your property and bully you, no. I'll try to share what I can, but will have no problems protecting myself either. You want to make sure you have like a hand crank radio, real cheap. I got one here. It's come in handy many times. It has a little built-in LED flashlight on it. You turn the crank here quite a few times, and I'll get a good charge, about 30-45 minutes for radio broadcast. It has shortwave capability on it. You can get shortwave. Get solar-powered devices. You can get flashlights. You just shake them and they work. A lot of solar-powered devices out there, folks. Hand crank radios. Radio may be your only link to the outside world in the event of a situation like this. Now, if you are really concerned about EMP, electromagnetic pulse, go ahead and look up a Faraday cage. If you're concerned that that's one of your big concerns, you can build yourself a Faraday cage. You can keep all your electronics inside the Faraday cage, and they will be protected. A Faraday cage will keep away an EMP. So we're getting towards the end of our show here, so I'm glad I kind of whizzed through here real fast. But folks, start a little bit at a time. Buy a little extra at the store. Buy a little extra bag of beans. Buy an extra bag of rice. Buy an extra bag of thing of pasta while you still can. Use glass jars to store things in. I like to stay away from plastic. Plastic tends to leach too many chemicals and things into foods, especially if they're stored long term. And glass is safe. It's reusable. If you get glass canning jars, you can actually cook in glass canning jars. They will not shatter because it's tempered glass. So you can cook in those. You can use those in your solar oven. Metal trash cans you can store foods in, providing you have a way to really secure the lid, tight-fitting lids. And practice your methods now, especially your cooking. My friend in Colorado, and she's really getting into this, and I'm right behind her as far as we're exchanging ideas, as far as recipes, we're exchanging ideas as far as preparation, what to do, and we're practicing now. We're practicing how to cook things, and I can't wait till she gets her solar oven, because I'm going to turn around and order mine, and I'm going to have fun with it. So hey, if I get hit with we get hit with a Category 3, or the big one does hit up on the mainland, and we're 2 weeks down here in the Keys without electricity, I'm going to be out there with my solar oven. At least I'll be, I might be cooking beans or pasta with sun-dried tomatoes, or I'll be making sourdough bread. Yeah, you can make sourdough bread. It doesn't require refrigeration to keep the dough, folks. Lots of stuff you can do, and do it while there's time. Okay, take the time to practice cooking your food and preparing your food, and just buy a little extra every time you go to the store. Buy an extra bottle of Dawn, stash it away. You don't have to go out and spend like $500 and say, oh my God, the world's gonna, the economy's gonna crash next week, or we might have an EMP. But bear in mind, a lot of this may not happen. But I would be much better to be prepared than be safe than sorry, right? Anyway, that wraps up a show here. It's amazing how fast an hour has whizzed by, but it has, and I've really enjoyed it. I hope some of this was informative. I just really just covered the very basics. There's a lot of places, websites, a lot of discussion groups that you can get involved with. I personally I got some friends I talk to, so yeah, it's and make it fun. Make it a family thing. It doesn't have to be, like the obsessed, like where you see some of the stuff on TV where people are really obsessed with it. If you feel that urge, if the need like that to really go whole hog, then by all means do. If you feel that leading, you got to go on your own call. But I'm just saying, prepare, folks, because a natural disaster could happen tomorrow. Some of you could be facing a blizzard next week, or next winter. Just be prepared, and don't live in fear. But remember, everything is in plain sight. And I thank you for joining me here for another week of another episode of In Plain Sight, and it's been fun having you join me, and I look forward to talking to you all again next week. So until then, everybody have a wonderful weekend and a great week ahead. Take care, and may the force be with you.
Wake up. It's really happening. You're listening to In Plain Sight.